Join me as I dive deep into the controversial decisions being made by Trudeau and try to figure out if he's really destroying Canada. Canada, known for its vast landscapes and diverse culture, has been under the leadership of Justin Trudeau for several years, and his governance has sparked intense debate among Canadians and international observers alike. The country's direction under his leadership has raised many questions, with some hailing his progressive policies and others criticizing his handling of key issues. Canada's economic landscape has undergone significant changes under Trudeau's leadership, with the country facing challenges such as a rising national debt and contentious trade agreements. The impact of these economic shifts has been felt across various sectors, affecting businesses and individuals alike. For instance, the carbon tax implemented to combat climate change has been a subject of heated debate, with some arguing it's a necessary measure to reduce Canada's carbon footprint, while others see it as an additional burden on already strained household budgets. Furthermore, the government's approach to managing the economy has been criticized for being overly reliant on borrowing, which could have long-term implications for Canada's financial stability. The issue of public dissent has also become more pronounced, with many Canadians expressing frustration over the government's handling of certain policies. Protests and demonstrations have become common, highlighting the deep divisions within Canadian society. The controversial pipeline projects, for example, have pitted environmental concerns against economic interests, leading to significant public outcry and resistance from Indigenous communities. This has underscored the complex relationship between economic development and environmental conservation, with no clear consensus on how to balance these competing demands. Additionally, the government's response to these protests has been criticized for being heavy-handed, further exacerbating tensions between the authorities and the public. Trudeau's government has also faced criticism for its policy failures, particularly in regards to the housing market and affordability. Many Canadians, especially younger generations, are finding it increasingly difficult to purchase homes due to skyrocketing prices and strict mortgage regulations. This has led to a growing sense of disillusionment among voters, who feel that the government is not doing enough to address their concerns. The situation is compounded by the shortage of affordable housing options, leaving many to rely on rented accommodations that are often beyond their means. As a result, the dream of homeownership, once a cornerstone of Canadian life, seems to be slipping away for many, posing a significant challenge to Trudeau's government to find effective solutions. Trudeau's government has made several decisions that have sparked controversy and concern among Canadians. One such decision is the introduction of Bill C-10, which aims to regulate online content but has been criticized for its potential to infringe upon free speech. This move has been seen as an overreach by the government, with many arguing that it could lead to censorship and undermine the principles of an open and democratic society. The bill's provisions have been particularly contentious, with fears that it could be used to target specific groups or viewpoints, thereby stifling debate and dissent. Moreover, the government's handling of the bill has been seen as secretive and lacking in transparency, further eroding trust between the government and the public. The policy of paying reparations to Indigenous communities for past injustices has also been a point of contention. While the intention behind this policy is to address historical wrongs and promote reconciliation, its implementation has been criticized for being inadequate and poorly managed. Many Indigenous communities feel that the compensation offered does not reflect the true extent of their suffering and that the process of receiving these funds is overly complicated and bureaucratic. This has led to accusations that the government is more interested in appearing to take action than in actually making meaningful changes. Furthermore, the lack of consultation with Indigenous leaders and communities during the policy's development has been seen as a significant oversight, undermining the legitimacy of the government's efforts. The purchase of the Trans Mountain Pipeline by the Canadian government is another example of a controversial decision made by Trudeau's administration. The move was intended to ensure the project's completion and secure jobs, but it has been criticized for being a costly mistake that could have significant environmental implications. The project's potential to increase oil sands production and contribute to greenhouse gas emissions has sparked widespread concern among environmentalists and local communities who fear that it could undermine Canada's climate change commitments. The financial risks associated with the project are also considerable, with many questioning whether the investment will yield the expected returns or if it will become a burden on taxpayers. Trudeau's handling of the SNC-Lavalin scandal is a significant event that encapsulates the criticism of his leadership. The scandal revolves around allegations that the Prime Minister's office interfered in the prosecution of SNC-Lavalin, a Canadian engineering firm accused of corruption. The affair led to the resignation of several high-ranking officials, including the Minister of Justice and the Treasury Board President, and damaged the government's reputation for transparency and accountability. The manner in which the government handled the situation, including the initial denials and the subsequent attempts to justify their actions, has been widely criticized for being evasive and dishonest. This scandal has had lasting implications for Trudeau's government, contributing to a perception of ethical laxity and undermining trust in the administration's ability to govern impartially. The SNC-Lavalin scandal also highlighted the inner workings of Trudeau's government and the relationships between key figures. The testimony of Jody Wilson-Raybould, the former Minister of Justice, was particularly damning, suggesting that she had faced intense pressure from the Prime Minister's office to intervene in the prosecution. Her courage in speaking out against the government's actions, despite the personal and professional risks, has been hailed as a testament to her integrity and commitment to the rule of law. The aftermath of the scandal saw significant changes within the government, including a reshuffle of cabinet positions, but the damage to the government's reputation had already been done. As the scandal continues to be debated, it serves as a powerful symbol of the criticisms leveled against Trudeau's leadership. The implications of the SNC-Lavalin scandal extend beyond the immediate fallout, posing broader questions about the health of Canadian democracy. The affair has raised concerns about the concentration of power within the Prime Minister's office and the potential for political interference in the justice system. These are fundamental issues that go to the heart of how Canada is governed and the principles of accountability and transparency that underpin its democracy. The scandal has also led to calls for reforms aimed at strengthening the independence of the judiciary and protecting whistleblowers, highlighting the need for robust mechanisms to prevent similar abuses of power in the future. As Canadians reflect on this event, they are forced to consider what kind of governance they want and expect from their leaders. The turning point in public perception of Trudeau's leadership can be traced back to the SNC-Lavalin scandal, as it marked a moment when the government's actions were seen as clearly at odds with the values of transparency and accountability that Trudeau had campaigned on. The scandal encapsulated the criticisms of Trudeau's leadership, from the perception of ethical failings to the charge of being out of touch with the concerns of ordinary Canadians. It marked a shift in the narrative around Trudeau, from a leader who embodied hope and change to one who was seen as embroiled in controversy and scandal. In recap, the major issues discussed surrounding Trudeau's leadership include economic challenges, public dissent, policy controversies, and significant events like the SNC-Lavalin scandal. These factors have contributed to a complex and often critical assessment of Trudeau's governance, with many Canadians expressing dissatisfaction with the direction of the country. As the nation moves forward, it faces numerous challenges, from addressing environmental concerns and promoting economic growth, to healing the rifts within Canadian society and restoring faith in the government's ability to lead. The path ahead will be shaped by how these issues are addressed, and the decisions made by Trudeau's government will have a lasting impact on Canada's future. Join the conversation in the comments below and share your thoughts on Trudeau's leadership and the challenges facing Canada.